Okay, so slightly different background because I'm trying something different on the basis of something that some people that know a little bit more about video have told me. So this is just a little bit of a test. But anyway, the topic tonight is women, and it got prompted by two ladies on Owen's chat, which also I think follow my channel. One is Marie Golet, who very kindly also volunteered to just stand in the background while black men touch her hair live on my channel. So I don't know, maybe we'll do that if there's enough interest. It's weird enough, it's almost interesting. And the other one, if I remember right, because I'm horrible with names, is Lucie Walker, I think, might be. Anyway, what happened is I think one of these two ladies, I can't remember which one first, I think it might have been Lucie, but anyway, she said that when she serves her husband at gatherings, or whether it's family gatherings or some other place, she'll serve her husband or bring him food or a drink or whatever. And she says that all the other women give her these looks of like, oh, you, how dare you, how dare you, you anti-feminist, you're being a slave to your husband. And she says that the more she gets that kind of a look, and the more it makes her want to do it even more, which is cool. And I know exactly what she's referring to, because my own wife, I mean, there's going to be a little bit of background here that is required. But basically, I've been married 3 times, although only once in the eyes of God, apparently, because the other 2 times I wasn't Catholic, and the 2 women were. But anyway, the first time I was married to an Italian woman, who was just, we're still really good friends, but was a mistake. And she naturally had that kind of way about her, because I guess in Italy we're still pretty, based. And nothing thought anything of it, because it's, again, sort of normal. Then I made the tragic mistake of marrying a Brazilian, and that was a mistake. But there was still some of that going on, but it was sort of resented, and I don't know, there was just quite a lot of weirdness there. She picked up quite a lot of, she was one of these enlightened Brazilians that then picks up quite a lot of the English sort of stuff. And my current wife, of course, which is English. And here's the background bit. I've lived in England now for about 15, 16 years. Oh, by the way, Big Bear said he kind of didn't know I wasn't British, so, I might have to put the blood feud on hold. But anyway, so I've been in the UK for about 15 years. And in that 15 years, I did go through, after my divorces, between divorces and after my divorces, so between marriages and then after the marriages, I went through, a relatively high number of women, especially between my first divorce and my second marriage. But with one exception of I suppose 2 exceptions, of a one-night stand in each case, I never spent any time with English women. And funnily enough, one of the English guys I used to train with told me that, we discussed stuff or whatever. And he said, well, the weird thing is that I've been reading this book about travelers to the UK from 500 years ago. And some Italian traveler from 500 years ago said about English people that, like, their women are whores. They're easily taken to bed. They drink. They speak, like sailors. Really terrible sort of thing. But, obviously very easy to get to bed and so on. And my own view of the English people, and don't worry, whatever your nationality is, I'm sure I have a very offensive view of your nationality. So if you're curious, just ask and I'll let you know. Including my own nationality, by the way. Anyway, I never spent really any time with English women, because I did find them quite vulgar, quite easy to the point where it, wasn't even fun. It's just kind of gross. and all brainwashed by this feminist thing, which I don't really blame the English women for. I blame the English men, because basically English men don't have a testicle between 10 of them. You know, like English men are essentially ballless men for the most part. You know, there are the occasional, you know, like guys who are alright, and the very rare, almost extinct English gentleman, which is something I really do enjoy. But you know, I like the archetypal English gentleman is a very interesting, funny, entertaining character, but they're very few and far between. They're almost an extinct breed. But you know, your average Englishman is a completely ballless, pussy-whipped loser, and because of that, their women go crazy. You know, because the men are ballless. That's what happens in any society. When the men are ballless, the women go insane, and insane women end up being, you know, these super feminist witches, which you don't want to stick your dick in that. It's just, nah, you know, you probably couldn't even get a hard on most of the time. And again, you know, there's always exceptions, but really, I never spent any time with an English woman, just because it's like, wow. And oh, I just remembered of another one. So okay, I had a one night stand with one English woman once, and she was very nice, and she was great, but you know, not somebody that I wanted to spend time enough to sort of figure out about a long-term relationship. Then there was another lady that I spent some time with, which was a rather debauched sort of a thing, but we won't go into the details of that. But again, it wasn't anything other than a mutual sort of booty call. You know, she was a psychologist, and she had some issues. Let's just say that she wanted to work out, and I was happy to help her work out her little issues. You know, she obviously had a lot of say over a lot of men in her work, and she probably wanted to feel a little bit different when she was in her private life, let's say. But you know, also that was an on-off thing for, I don't know, a few weeks. And the only other English woman that I'd spent any time with was my wife, my current wife, although at the time it was a drunken half-night stand sort of weird thing, and then we spent some time, whatever, here and there, but not, you know, together as such. And then we kind of went our separate ways, did our things. But, and you know, she's a very smart woman. She's had a very interesting sort of life in the Chinese sense of the word. But the thing is, when, you know, when I first met her, she was definitely very quite English, although there was something deeper to her, you know, that I saw, even though she was kind of a train wreck. But then so am I, you know. So, and then when we got together more recently, you know, she had changed quite a bit, and she had come into her own realization in her own way, through her own life and her own experiences. She realized that every guy that she'd been with, she'd kind of been the boss, and she was kind of tired of that. And she realized, you know, I actually don't want that. I don't want to be the leader. And I was like, well, you know, that's great, because you wouldn't get a chance here to be the leader at all. You know, you get to be the co-pilot if you follow the rules, but I'm the captain, and that's never going to change. Never has, never will. Just, I'm built that way. I don't even have to. It's not something I consciously have to worry about or think about. Just who I am, you know. It's like, well, if I'm in a relationship with a woman, I'm the man. That's just how it works, you know. And but she didn't used to be that way, and she wasn't used to that. She'd never been with a guy that was kind of like that. And again, it's not about, you know, being domineering or anything like that. It's just like, well, there's certain things a woman does and certain things a man does. It's just how things are. And when we got together, and it's, you know, it's all good, we have a great relationship, but I saw that straight away. As soon as, you know, we had the first dinner, or even when I went to her place, you know, and her mom and her sisters are there or whatever, I'm not doing anything weird or different, you know. I'm just sitting there, and she'll come and bring me a drink, and then she said, you want something else? I'll say yes, no. She'll maybe brought me some food or some other drink or whatever, and I could tell, you know, the little looks from her sisters and from her friends and from her mom, whatever. It's sort of like, oh, what is she doing? You know, what is she doing? Is that her? You know, why did she behave that way with this guy? I could just sense it. And I was like, yeah. And again, you know, when we had friends over or when we went to some gatherings or whatever, that's just how we are with each other. You know, that's our thing with each other. It's not like, it's no weird intent. We're not trying to send a message. It's just how we are. But you can see how the women all react to it, especially English women are sort of like, oh, well, you know, and then they'll try and throw in a little comment. And the cool thing about my wife is she just pretends like it's all just going over her head. And slowly, over time, she's starting to affect the other people, you know. She just told me that, because I was telling her about, I'm going to do the next video about her, you know, and she's like, oh, what? What are you going to talk about me? But, and I said, you know, and I mentioned this, and she then mentioned that, like, well, one of her friends was like, well, you know, well, what does your husband do around the house? And she's like, well, nothing really. But, you know, he works pretty hard. He does all these other side projects. He does things. He spends time with us. And, you know, and she's kind of explained to her friend what I do for her. And at which point her friend was like, oh, okay then. That's pretty good. And that's the thing, you know, women think that they want the man to, like, do the dishes and whatever, the washing and all the other crap, the housework, whatever. But they don't. They don't. What they want is a guy that can look after them. You know, if you're the man and you take care of everything, whatever, you know, taking care of everything, you can be a bushman without a penny to your name, right? But if you go out, you hunt, you kill your animal, you bring it back, you skin it, you dry the meat, and your woman has always got food and water, and you look after the kids are safe. That's all she wants, and it's the same. It hasn't changed from the cave times, you know. Now it's just whatever. You might have to go to work in an office, or you work from home, or you do a combination of things, or, you know. But as long as you see to it that she's looked after, the kids are looked after, there's enough food, money, comfort for her to, you know, be able to just look after the kids and be a good wife. If that's the situation, she's going to be happy with that, you know. Now her friends, and remember, women are herd animals, so her friends are all going to bitch at her and say, oh, but you know, you're a slave, you're just a housewife, you're a mom and a housewife, and you don't have a job, and you've given up your career. Listen, no woman wants a fucking career when they actually understand what it's about. No normal woman wants a career. A woman that has a man that she can A, rely on, B, provides for her and the kids, she's happy. She's happy. And if she can, all she has to do is look after the kids and be a good wife, that's it. She doesn't need anything else. She's gonna be happy with that. Some women will take a little while to realize that, you know, like we've had a conversation, my wife and I, where she will come back to me like randomly at some point, you know, not too long ago. She came up to me and she sort of said, you know what, I need to thank you for, like, making me a wife and a mom. And I was like, okay, you know, kind of thought that's kind of was what he said. No, I have to thank you for making me a wife and a mom, because if I just listened to my own crazy brain, maybe I wouldn't be here now. And it's because of the way you've discussed stuff with me, or like shown me things, or sometimes even just told me, no, you're fucking wrong, do that this way. And I kind of, you know, didn't agree with you, but then it's like, oh, I thought about it a bit, and it's like, yeah, actually he's fucking right. And she said that. She said, you know, sometimes we'll have our little arguments or whatever. And she goes like, yeah, and I kind of like get pissed off with you, but then I think about it a minute, and it's like, well, actually, what did he say that's wrong? And that's a very rare quality for a woman to have, because women backwards rationalize everything. You know, it doesn't matter what they've done, they will you know, they can stab you, and then you get pissed off with them because, like, look, you just fucking stabbed me 3 times. Can you, like, and you like you slap the knife out of their hand, and they're like, oh, he's so abusive, you know. And they backward rationalize stabbing you because you slapped the knife out of their hand. It's like, oh, wait a minute, that doesn't work. You know, you stabbed me 3 times, then I slap the knife out of your hand, and they'll somehow in their brain make it like, no, I stabbed you 3 times because you slapped the knife out of my hand. It's like, that doesn't work. It's like, they will do sorts of crazy shit in their head. But because of the emotions. Like women are very emotional. Their emotions are huge, and if you don't understand that, then you've got a problem. But the thing about her that's really cool is that she will have all the crazy emotions, but it just wait, let her get over it, and then she'll think about it, and she does something that's very rare for women in my experience. She will realize that she did something wrong, or that the way she saw it wasn't actually the truth of what was happening. Sometimes it's because she's very sensitive, and I am too. To be fair, it's like we pick up any slight offense to our sense of justice. We like pick up on it right away. But sometimes there is no bad intent. It's literally one of us says something, the other one misinterprets it. And when it's me that misinterprets it, if she explains, which she sometimes doesn't do because she gets emotional, but if she says, no, I meant this because that, and the other, then I'm like, oh, okay, fuck it, that makes sense. But women are not like that. You have to let them calm down, and you just tell them, okay, this is why I did that, and then just leave, just walk away or whatever. Just let her get over it, and she does. But the cool thing, the reason I'm mentioning all this history is because I'm just letting you know, it wasn't like, oh, like the what do you call it, the dream world. Oh yes, we all met, we're happily ever after and everything. No, we have our disagreements, whatever. But the thing is that over time, she's recognized the truth of certain things. And now, whether it's a friend, a sister, whatever, say like, oh, but why do you behave like that? Because they're all brainwashed into this feminist bullshit, which is making them unhappy. Really, women are not happy being feminists. They really are not. And some of them are, in relationships or whatever, they get married. Eventually, they'll find some guy that'll put up with their like nonsense. But then, over time, they start to realize, oh shit, but I wish that like my husband was a bit more like this and a bit more like that, a bit more, had a bit more oomph and didn't take my shit. Basically, that's what they're saying. They'll never admit it consciously. Very few will. But those that do admit it, are healthier, let's say, and generally in healthier relationships. I mean, the best relationships I've seen of people that have been married like 40 years, 50 years, the woman knows that she's crazy, and she's shit outright. I had a boss once that he and his wife worked together in the same office, and he was like my boss, and she used to, like, her desk was just in front of my desk, and we'd talk about all sorts, and she'd tell me, I'd tell her about the random girlfriends I was seeing at the time, whatever, and she'd tell me, oh, well, we're all crazy, we're women, we're all absolutely crazy, we're completely fucking insane, but you just have to learn to manage the madness. And these two had like an amazing relationship, and also neither of them was an easy person, so I relate to them quite a bit. But that's the thing. It's that saying, man's gotta know his limitations. Now, women generally never know their limitations, but a man's gonna know their limitations too. And if you're doing that right, then she'll be happy and you'll be happy, and it works. And it's really interesting. The other dynamic, which I think one of these ladies alluded to, was the more that the sort of feminist death glares she gets given, the more she becomes more feminine and more potentially, when I say subservient, it's an apparent subservience, because it's actually a loving behavior towards your husband. And you don't know what an effect that has on the man. It creates a far more superior, excellent sort of relationship. And because when the man feels cared for, looked after, loved, nurtured, similarly, he'll want to take care of, look after, and nurture his wife too. It's a natural, virtuous cycle. And the interesting thing is that over time, it influences the very people that were the most critical about it. The people that were saying, oh, how can you bring him a drink? And how can you, he doesn't even move his ass once, he doesn't clean the dishes after the dinner. And she's like, I don't want him to clean the dishes. It's my husband, he doesn't have to clean the dishes. And slowly it's starting to affect all the feminist friends of hers. They either gravitate away or they start to like look at to her as, how do you get that relationship? What are you doing that I'm not doing? It's very interesting. It's a similar thing to when we got baptized. And, you know, none of us have a background of Catholicism or even Christianity, you know. Total heathens, if not actual pagans. And everybody around us sort of like, oh, what are you doing that for? Oh, yeah, it's a crutch. And over time, and then like when we started, you know, going to church on Sundays and stuff, it was like, oh, how you gonna do that? Oh, yeah, the sky daddy shit. And we're just like, yeah, whatever, man. And we just carried on. And then you can see they're starting to gravitate towards it. And now they like start to question and ask, oh, Baba, how does that work? You know, what do you mean by being Christian? How does that? And they're starting to gravitate. You know, the little book I wrote, Believe, I usually have like 5 or 10 copies of my books around just because I want to go through them or give them to friends or whatever. And now the very people that were like totally against me, my ideas, Christianity, whatever, are now like secretly going to my wife saying, do you think I could have one of his books to read for myself too? It's like, wait, weren't you the same person that was like totally against everything that I said? Oh, now you want secretly to read what I wrote and you know, could I sign it maybe? It's just, so just hold your line, you know. And right at the end of Big Bear's chat, I think it's 607, I think the last one anyway, he had a question, you know, was somebody in the chat asked a question on like, I mean, don't you believe in the equality of men and women? And I think Big Bear hesitated for a bit, if I remember right. He sort of went like, yeah, well, you know, because I think he was thinking about the legalities, of law, you know, like you want equal law for men and women, right? And I was in his chat for once, and I wrote, no, I don't believe at all in the equality of men and women or being treated equal for men and women. I don't, absolutely not. And like the chat started saying, oh, the Kurgan is based, and you know, no, but I'm honestly saying that. And you know what? My wife will agree, because you're not going to treat a woman the same way that you're going to treat a man, even in law, okay? If a man shoots somebody and kills them and has some extenuating circumstances, most people will still go harsher and he'll get a harsher sentence than if a woman did it. I'm not particularly against that, you know, because, you know, whatever, the waiter brings me coffee that's cold and I shoot him dead for his, you know, complete lack of respect for his own job and for me, in true samurai fashion, I kill him for bringing me the coffee cold and not having done his job properly. People are going to give me life, if not, you know, death. But if a woman does it, you know, she might have just found out she was pregnant, or that she lost a baby, or she must have been on a period, her hormones would have been up. There's a lot more extenuating circumstances for a woman's emotions. Now, she might also just be totally fucking insane, and the coffee actually was hot and well delivered. In that case, she should get the same sentence that, you know, I would get if I killed him for bringing me the cold coffee. It's not fair, it's not equal, but it is just. It is just. I don't believe that women have the same ability to be responsible that a man has. Potentially they do. Yes, in theory they do. But in practice they don't. Similarly, you know, it would be totally unfair to treat a guy that's 5'6" the same way you treat me as 6'2", with anything to do with, like, you know, a plane, a bus, the height of tables, you know, the amount of food that I have to consume compared to him. It's not the same. We're not the same, right? So a 6'2" guy should not be compared to a 5'6" guy when you're playing basketball. It's wrong, all right? Similarly, if your emotions, if your internal directives, if everything inside you works in a completely different way, emotionally, spiritually, mentally, logically, why should you be treated the same? That's unfair. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm a pretty harsh bastard, so if you're going to give me the option, you know, if you're going to say, oh, well, everybody's different, so we have to allow all the social justice, no, then I'm going to say, nope, the law is one for everybody. It doesn't matter, man, woman, child, black, green, white, yellow, it doesn't fucking matter, right? You rape somebody, you die. You kill somebody for no good reason, you die. You kill somebody for a good reason, you get a medal. But guess what? I then am an advantage because I've got 155 IQ. or I'm at a serious disadvantage, because depending on where you make the law, and if you make the law for the average 70 IQ person, I will probably have to be burnt at the stake, because in a society where the law is for the 70 IQ person, I will be an outlaw by definition. Not because I'm doing anything immoral, illegal, or wrong, or unethical, but because my ability compared to the average pleb is more than twice their ability. So I will look like a crazy space god to them, and they will have to kill me. So no, I don't believe in equality at all. And no, I don't believe in that. There is no equality between men and women. There never has been, there never will be. So I just wanted to thank those ladies for the topic, because I do think it's an amazing thing when a woman is feminine and treats her husband well. It makes all the women pissed off, all the men envious, and it's a good thing. You know, I'm reminded of another thing when I was in Venice, and you know, we weren't married then, but you know, she was there for a few days. She came over, and she, you know, she's a good-looking woman, and she was dressed. She had these short shorts and high heels and a nice top and sunglasses and whatever. We walked out, and in Italy, the Italians all look at you. They all look at you, man, woman. They all look at how you're dressed, how you carry yourself. I've never cared about any of that stuff. I mean, I had to live there for a long time before I even realized people did that, because I grew up in fucking boondocks. So, you know, you're lucky if I got clothes on. You know, if I got pants on, you're doing well. But because I really genuinely don't give a shit. I don't care what clothes I'm wearing, whatever. It's protecting from the weather. And because I genuinely don't care, and, you know, the other human monkeys pick up on this. So there's a guy in their Armani suit with the jacket that matches his socks, and his tie matches his shoes, and his belt matches his eyeglasses, whatever. And I'm totally oblivious to that shit, and I just talk to everybody normally. That guy with all the, you know, super fashionista stuff would come to me and sort of look up to me and sort of go, what do you do? Where do you come from? And I'm like, well, I do as little as possible, and I come from nowhere. Why? You know, and they all of a sudden you get surrounded by men. You know, women want to be with you, men want to emulate you, and it's like, and they say, but how do you do that? How do you carry yourself? You know, what course did you? Like, what are you talking about? You know, I don't even know what you're talking about. Anyway, we walked out. She's very susceptible to that sort of thing, and she immediately noticed, all the women are looking at me. It's because I look like a whore. You know, no, I'm gonna go back and change. I said, whoa, relax. That's all in your head. Yes, you're being looked at. Now carry on walking next to me and look at how the women are looking at you, and it's envy. It's green eyes of rage and envy. And look at how the men are looking at you, and if they can tear their eyes away from you to look at me, then it's envy. But if they're only looking at you, then it's lust. Just enjoy it. Just keep walking. And, you know, for about 5 minutes, you could see all the hair stand on end on her whole body. She was sort of like, feeling upset. And then after 5 minutes, she started, oh yeah, I think that woman just gave me a bad look. I'm like, that's right. Look at her, look at you. Can you understand why she's upset? Oh, and that guy, yeah, look at that guy. Yeah, look at that guy. Look at that guy over there. You know, men are easier. You can see them because, you know, women will look at you from 2 or 3 times the distance that a man will look at you. The woman will pick you up 2 or 3 times further down the line. So, you know, there's a tip for you. But anyway, you know, so she started to understand what was going on, and then she started to like get into it, and then she started to enjoy it. Then she started to see, oh yeah, this would be cool. And it's a huge power, you know, a pretty feminine woman has a huge power. And if she's next to a guy that allows her to be herself, and she's protected because, you know, she's next to him, so it's not like anything is going to happen to her, then she can be herself, and it's beautiful. It's amazing to watch, you know. Then you can see a woman bloom when that happens. And there's a little video clip that I saw, I can't remember what it's called or anything, about these ladies singing. There's one lady playing the piano and the other women singing, and they're all, it's from the 1940s or something. They're all well dressed, all their hair's in place. It's awesome. You know, I wouldn't even, it's not even lust inspiring because, you know, those women are probably in their 80s now, but it's such a, it is inspiring. As a man, you see that and it's beautiful. It's like, wow, you know, look at that. It's the energy of the female expression. It's It's amazing. So yeah, I'm all for that. So, you know, when people say, oh, you're a misogynist. No, I'm not a misogynist. I actually love women. I like women. That's why they should understand who they are, what their power is, where their power is. If you're a woman and you're trying to be a truck driver and you're trying to be the best truck driver, you know, you're trying to swim against the current in a way that's not helpful for yourself. If you're a woman in an English society that is all mostly matriarchal, and you decide to become a really feminine, respectful of your husband in the right way, woman that dresses like a woman, that behaves like a woman, that knows what being a woman is about, that's some real power. There you're gonna shift minds, and it's amazing to watch. So yeah, that's it. Thank you to the two ladies. I think it's Marie Golet and Lucie Walker, if I remember right. And if I got your names wrong, I apologize. I'm sorry. I'm terrible with names. I never forget a face, but names I'm just not good at. So okay, that's basically it. And good night.